Hello, and thank you for watching. I'm really excited to bring you this interview with hip hop musician, producer, DJ, and educator Jay Rawls. Like me, Jay is a native of Columbus, Ohio. Over his distinguished career, Jay has worked with artists such as Mos Def and Talib Kweli. As an educator, Jay heads up Ohio University's first of its kind hip hop education program. In this interview, Jay and I talk about how music inspires not only musicians, but writers and filmmakers like myself and many other creatives. And I have to give a shout out to another Columbus native, professor and writer Brian Michael Murphy, for connecting Jay and I. Brian is the author of the new book, We the Dead. This fascinating book is about the history and future of data storage, a very relevant subject for creatives who are always making new works and trying to find a way to store them. I'll include a link to my previous interview with Brian in the description of this video. And now, without further ado, here's my interview with Jay Rawls. I was looking at your bio. I mean, it's really, really impressive. And I was just wondering, and I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but who were some of your musical influences growing up?
Oh man. Um, man, I was really just a fan of hip hop in general. And I really just the music just kind of took me by storm. And I think when Beat Street came out, it kind of solidified that I wanted to be in the culture. I didn't know what I was going to do. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? But I just knew I wanted to do something. So, as I just started really digging in the crates, man. That's how I started. Like going through my father's records with my best friend. His name was Buka, and me and him used to just dig in the crates and just find samples. And that was really the basis for everything for me and how I jumped into hip hop. And then, a lot of the early producer greats. You go back. I go back to Larry Smith. You know what I'm saying? But you can talk about Said G from Ultramagnetic. You could talk about Q-Tip. Pete Premier. So man, from a hip hop standpoint, I had a lot of influences, man. I just enjoyed great music. And then I had a lot of people from Columbus, that really inspired me. I was a big fan of Spirit.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
sure if you're
Yep.
familiar. Yeah. So like Spirit really kind of, Construction 360, a lot of the early groups, man, that was out doing their thing and making a mark kind of let us know that, oh, okay, we could do it from here too.
Right. And when did you realize that you had a talent for making music? Because, like me, I think we're probably the same generation. I was influenced by Crush Groove and all those,
Mm-hmm.
hip hop movies. And, at one point I thought, oh, I could be a rapper or I could just go get a mixer from Radio Shack and, I could make my own beats. But then I
Exactly.
quickly realized I don't have, I have an appreciation for music, but I'm not I don't have the aptitude to be a music maker. When did you realize you have the talent to actually make music?
I, that just kind of happened. It kind of, in like 87 or so, 87, maybe 88, my mom got me a Casio SK5 keyboard, which basically had a sampler on it. And we
Okay.
started making beats then and just started sampling, Pop's records and chopping up drums, best, just trying. We didn't really know what we were doing, but I guess, as I got to high school and we started to actually like do talent shows, our first talent show was with Spirit.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, probably at East High School, one of them ones at East or something like that, or at the Inner Circle. And we actually, that's kind of when we had a inkling that hey, maybe we could do this. We didn't know, what it would be or where it would go, but we just wanted to make music. And a lot of times back then, man, it was just we just did it because we loved it.
Right.
You know,
Right. When you say we, are you talking about like you and siblings
me,
or friends of yours that also?
yeah, friends from the neighborhood on
Okay.
the south side. So Buka, Dwayne, we all just kind of did our thing, man.
Right. Right. Is anyone else in your family musical? Do they sing or play instruments or do anything?
No, no.
Wow, wow. So how did your family react when you decided to start pursuing music as a career? Were they supportive, or what was the feedback you got?
Yeah, they were supportive, but I still was in college. I still was like, it wasn't no, you just gonna drop out and do this. That was, I don't even know if that would have been supported, but I didn't really want to do that. I was enjoying what I was doing, and I wanted my degree, so I just kept pushing. But it all kind of happened simultaneously, so I got kind of lucky.
Right, right. So why was pursuing education important to you? Because so many people just in the music industry in general, barely graduate high school. So why was get how did you kind of know that getting an education and higher education was something that was important to you?
Yeah, it just I don't know. It made sense for me. I always wanted my degree. I always wanted um to to be educated. I like learning. I guess that's really the easiest way to put it. I enjoy learning new things. I'm sitting there, watching documentaries right now.
Mm,
Like that's all I do is try to get more knowledge, and I think it's just like who I was as a person, and it made it easier. But I just because I never planned on getting a PhD. That just kind
mhm.
of, as I was in education, I went and got my master's, and then I was like, what about this PA? And I just kept going, that kind of thing. So
Right. Why is Columbus a good base of operations for you? And what's your sense of the state of the creative community in Columbus? Is there, I mean, I definitely know a lot of creative people in, music and all different kinds of fields of arts in Columbus. But for you, why is Columbus a good base of operations for you?
Columbus is home, man. So that's first and foremost. Second, um, I've always been about my family, and I never wanted to raise my kids in like a New York or LA because I didn't know New York or LA. I know Columbus. I know what neighborhoods not to go in. I know where to be and what to do. So Columbus just made sense to raise my kids. So that's why I never left. And there's tons of talent in Columbus. I mean, Columbus is home to so many talented creatives,
Mhm.
so it's a good scene here, and like I said, it's home. Feels good.
Right. So for people, especially from Columbus, people who are not in, New York or LA or Atlanta or somewhere that's like a music industry hub, and this is, I'm sure you've been asked this a lot too, but what advice would you give for them who, if they want to break into the music industry and get seen?
Just to keep going. Like
Okay.
you got to be persistent. You can't stop, and there's going to be a lot of people to tell you that you should stop, or you should do this, or they're going to tell you you should get up and move, or you should, you just got to follow your heart and be persistent. um you know I've never gotten anything just standing around stagnant. Like, you got to always keep building, keep creating.
Right.
So that's my advice.
How does an artist make a sustainable, especially a music artist? How does, if they're not as fortunate as you and, don't have a doctorate that enables them to teach, how do they make a sustainable living in the music industry? I mean, there once was a time where, selling physical product and, doing live shows, you could make a decent living off that. But with streaming, I hear from so many different artists that streaming doesn't really pay, the type of money that it's like you have to be a entrepreneur, you have to sell merchandise and have all these different income streams. So how do
I
you make
think
a sustainable
I,
living?
I think you just answered the question. You have to
Okay.
have a ton of income streams. I don't know how feasible it is to make it just off of music unless you're a superstar.
Right.
Uh, like Jay-Z type level, them type J. Cole or whoever, like people that's in the line, like that's got the machine behind them pushing them.
Hmm.
That's why education worked for me, because I could still do that and make music and not be a starving artist. I was able to still feed my family and still create the music I love, and that was the compromise for me. That's what made it work. But for somebody who, you got to have something. You can't just say, I'm gonna make music and I'm gonna be okay. That's not gonna work. You're gonna have to make music and do something else. What else do you do? I'm a
Right.
photographer. I'm a I'm a journalist. I do something else. You do something else, unless until you get to that level.
Absolutely. And so how do you choose the artists that you collaborate with? Is it like, do they approach you or you, I mean, how does that work?
I mean, very rare. I'll do like somebody hits me up out the blue and they ask to buy a beat or do something like that. I'll do that, but most of my collaborations are just people I'm cool with. Like I have a mutual respect, and they have a mutual respect, and we enjoy each other's music, or we're fam, and we end up working together. That's really what it is.
Wow. Is there anyone that you haven't collaborated with that you'd like to, that's like a, bucket list collaboration?
Yeah. I might be able to collab with High Tech from
Okay.
Cincinnati. Been wanting to work with him for years. Hopefully that comes to fruition. I've always wanted to work with Common, but I've never met Common or anything, so I don't know. Maybe that'll happen, maybe not. But um, I'm willing to work with anybody that's dope. That's like just like I like hungry, like up and coming dudes that's hungry, like RJ Payne. He's dope. I'd like to work with him. It's so really it's just I like collabs that are organic, that
Right.
just like we meet and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's you did that, and they'll be like, oh yeah, you did that. I'll be like, yeah, oh okay, and then it just comes naturally.
Yeah, you work with two of my favorite artists of all time, Most Def and Talib Kweli. And I was just thinking of how, there used to be such a wide range of hip hop that was mainstream and popular. I just recently watched that documentary that Ava DuVernay did about women in hip hop, and how at one time in the 80s and 90s, there were like 45 female artists signed to major labels. And at the time she did that documentary in 2010, there were three. It was like Trina, Lil Kim, and one other person I can't remember. So, what is your sense of the overall state of hip hop? I mean, I was just talking to my family over the weekend at a holiday party about how, used to have different kinds of rap. You had comedy rap like Biz Markie, you had chant rap like, Tootsie Roll, you had Salt and Pepper, you had different female artists. Now it just seems like it's, and I hate to sound like somebody that's out of touch, but it's like it almost just seems like it's like the lowest common denominator, whatever the most shocking thing is you can say to get the most streams. That's what labels, at least major labels, seem to go for. So I'm just
Yeah,
kind of like interested in your sense of like, if you're an artist who doesn't fit into the very narrow mold of the hip hop today, how do you carve a niche for yourself?
yeah, I think you just answered it. It's the majors, right?
Mm.
So consider, if you're talking majors and that kind of thing, you've got to think about what type of artist you are, and everybody's not going to get that push, the big machine. I've never had the big machine behind me. um, if the majors push one scenario, like one idea, and that's why, like, most of the women signed to majors are, they're in bikinis, or they showing their butt, or they went and got the
Mm.
surgery, whatever, right?
Right.
you know and the guys, you sex, drugs, money, thug. I mean, that's it. If you're not speaking that scenario, then you're not in the playing field. So the thing is, you have to just like use the internet, man. I mean, with the advent of the internet and things like that, and people will gravitate towards something that's good. So if you just keep pushing, that's why I said earlier, be persistent and be yourself. Like, I like there's a female MC named Sa Rock, who is very she just be herself. She, her she's married, her husband is a producer, and she puts out music, God body music, stuff like respect who you are, just a different narrative. And it's like people gravitate toward it because, the industry pushes one thing. And so, but that's the thing, that's not the only hip hop that's out there. It's just like you said, there used to be all different styles of rap, but now they just want it down to the brass tacks. What's going to sell the most? The shock, the violence, all that is what's going to sell. So that's all we push. But there's still other stuff out there. You just got to go look for it.
Right. Right. What do you feel like is going to be the legacy of music right now? Because like I was just wondering, I was like, okay, well, the music of today, will it be sampled 10 or 20 years from now the way that in the 80s and 90s hip hop artists sampled music of the 70s? And I just have trouble envisioning that. Like 20 years from now, not naming any names, that the music is gonna that's popular right now, mainstream major label music is going to be that memorable that 20 years from now someone's going to be sampling it. What's your sense of that? What music, if any, of today do you think is going to like last and really have that legacy that will be passed on from generation to generation?
The only music that's really going to last is the music that's heartfelt, the music that touches people. You're not going to have a lot of the sex, drugs, and money, murder music that people listen to. That's not really gonna, I mean, that might be memorable if like you're at a party and somebody plays, one of the, but that's not like, like think about a Stevie Wonder song or a Luther Vandross, like them are gonna be popular in 40, 50 years from now.
Right.
And they're already 30 years old, right? You'll be able to play, Do I Do from Stevie Wonder in 40, 50 years from now because
Right.
it's good. So the songs that are coming out now that feel good, that tell a story, that resonate, they'll last and people will listen to them. I don't know if people will sample them because to me, sampling music now ain't really, that ain't gonna get it. The what we sampling is that nostalgic feel, that feel good, and that's from the 70s, and things like that. Now, some people do make some things that can be sampled, but a lot of it is alternative. If you
Right.
look at Kendrick Lamar and some of the stuff they be sampling stuff that came out like last year, that stuff be alternative white groups that people be like, "Who is that?" But they making good music, they doing some different stuff, and that's the thing. Good music and doing different is always going to prevail.
Right. Right. You talked about you've been watching documentaries. What is some of your favorite movie music? Like, do you have a favorite soundtrack or a favorite movie score?
Wow, that's a good question. Man, maybe the music that goes with the movie the best is probably Belly, the opening
Okay.
scene.
Okay.
Belly. That I don't know who thought of that, who put that together, but that's probably one of the most incredible ever. But yeah, man, I don't know. Movie music. Mm,
Yeah, like
I
for me, New Jack City. I used to love the New Jack City soundtrack.
like all of them 80s and early 90s black movies would work, like New Jack City, The Boys in the Hood, even To Higher Learning, like all of them movies was just great movies. So probably anything that came from them is great. I'm thinking of like Above the Rim, like the soundtrack off of that it had a whole bunch of stuff, 21 Jump Street, and some other things. So yeah, man, I'm a '90s dude. Though I probably still live in the '90s a little too much for most people.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Have you ever considered doing like film scoring? Because I was listening to some of your music earlier, and to me, it's very has that cinematic kind of feel. Is that something you've ever considered branching into?
Of course, if I ever get the opportunity, I just haven't had the chance. But
Mhm.
if I do, I definitely would.
And what about, like how Questlove made that documentary, The Summer of Soul? Would you ever consider like maybe making a music documentary or collaborating with someone, you know,
Of
like
course,
Questlove on something like that, the history of music?
of course, definitely. I mean, I love collaborating with folks, and like I said, I just told you I'm in the documentary, so I would love that most
Right,
definitely.
right. Do you feel like have has the world pretty much opened back up to like do DJ sets and live shows? Is that a viable option now?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's back open, but I think the Twitch thing is here to stay. I
Okay.
mean, I don't see that going anywhere because it's just too easy to do. I mean, I do my show every Sunday at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Just pop down in my studio and just DJ. I mean, it's easy. It's people can watch, they can enjoy. Yeah, that opens something up that'll probably never leave.
Right. Are there any projects that you're working on right now that you're able to talk about or anything? on the horizon for 2023?
Definitely. Got the new album with Rhetmatic coming out February 3rd.
Okay.
DJ Rhetmatic from the world famous Beat Junkies, and we got a host of some of our, most of them is fam. I mean, One is a singer from Korea. She's got a Grammy in Korea. She's incredible. We got Craig G from the Juice Crew. We got Blue. We got Rascas. We got Frank Nitt and Jay Dilla's little brother, Illa J. We got Sadat X and Elder Sensei. We got John Robinson and Wordsworth. So we got a lot of fam on there. The album is it's soul, it's hip hop, and it's instrumental beats. So excited about that. And then I'm doing a house record in
Oh, wow.
2003. I'm change up the game a little bit. I'm doing something a little different. And I don't really call it house because it's like really hip hop, really hip house, really soulful house. So my man DJ Center say call it dance floor music. So I'm doing the dance floor music album, up tempo.
I love that term, hip house. Yeah,
Yeah,
that seems like that's classic because I remember all those songs like Black Box, like Everybody, and CNC Music Factory, where you had the dance music combined with hip hop.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a classic sound that'll like never go out of style for sure.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. Was there anything else I didn't ask about that you wanted to mention?
Nah. You asked about a lot. Yep, you good.
Well, Jay, I really again appreciate you taking the time to do this, and yeah, let's definitely keep in touch because I'm a filmmaker, so definitely I would love to collaborate with you in some kind of way in the future.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah, I need all filmmakers. So yeah, let's definitely build on that.
For sure. If you like this video, please leave a comment, share it, and subscribe to my channel.